Hello and welcome to The Good, The Bad and The Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which movie is too busy jacking its little weenus. I'm your host Griner, and joining me today...
I'm a lone wolf, three of us wolves running around the desert looking for strippers and cocaine.
And I'm Luke, and I'm like a gremlin. I come with instructions and shit.
The Hangover movies. 3.
I'd like to say something. I've prepared something. Hello. How about that ride in? I guess that's why they call it Sin City.
I really think you should have interrupted Conan like your original.
I know. I was going to
anyway,
interrupt Conan's quote with that. Sorry.
You wigged out. The Hangover 3. Is this the biggest comedy trilogy of the last? I don't know. For a long time, I can't even think of another comedy trilogy, to be honest. They're few and far between.
Home Alone was the last truly great one.
We had the blood and ice cream that we've discussed.
True,
yeah.
Of course. I shouldn't discount
Guardians.
Yeah,
there's a lot of like Marvel comedies out there, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean every Marvel trilogy's comedy.
It's
turned into one. Yeah.
In recent memory, probably. I'm looking here quickly, and it's like
American Pie is another one that sort of comes to mind.
American Pie, Naked Guns, but this is definitely the last probably modern comedy trilogy.
Yeah. These movies were like the biggest movies at the time. I mean, in my mind, they were huge in terms of comedies, right? Like they were the big comedies, particularly the first one. Like I feel like everybody was talking about the Hangover 1 after it came out.
Yeah. All of my notes on this are basically what a sort of like a landmark film the first one was. Like I feel like it revolutionized like culture in a way, and it's totally a touchstone. I'd like to say everybody I knew everyone quoted it. Yeah. Like Mike Tyson became known by a whole new generation. Yeah. That Phil Collins song was sung and quoted by everybody.
Yeah.
The Sin City joke, like that was just a thing people would say. It was like
Caesar's Palace. Like
yes,
My brother, thinking he was a comedy genius, when he went to Caesar's Palace, said that joke. And the person behind the counter, you could tell, hears that 50 times a day. And they're just like, okay.
Yeah. It's like whenever I wear my shoulder bag and, I'm still like, it's a satchel, Indiana Jones wears one. Like, everyone says that. These movies are like, and I just remember at the time.
You and me, like, Griner's much, much older than us, obviously. But
whole different generation.
Boomer. But
thanks.
For us, I feel like...
Are we even a different generation? I don't even know if that's true. But anyway, carry on.
No, we're all millennials.
Jeez, I'm just an elder millennial, all right?
Yeah. But like I know that these films, and like the reason I remember the first one so much is it was like the last 2 years of high school for me. And like I'm sure it was the last 3 years where it's what everyone was quoting. Like everyone just was saying stuff from the movie, all this sort of stuff. And then like I feel like early Facebook, it was like, it was like when groups that you would join would just be like a meme, like the early memes where it was just like, oh no, it's not, it's a satchel or something like that. And you'd that page being like, that's funny. It's just, it was so much of that 2009, 2010 sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In a way it became kind of like the memes before memes as we know them took off, where there were these shorthand phrases and little jokes that everybody knew because they'd seen this movie and it was fun. And it was just sort of out there. It was like, the movies are good, or the first one is good, but it's kind of weird how big it was. And I think it's one of those like landmark comedies that changes the way people start to do comedy and view comedy, just with these, these one wild card characters and these complete non sequiturs and nonsense jokes. And it just became sort of part of the millennial brand of comedy. Like it was started a lot, I think, in 2004 and 5 with like Napoleon Dynamite, Anchorman,
yeah.
And then this continues that tradition of like comedians just giving their brand of improv and people just being like, we could quote these all day, because that's what we're doing with Anchorman, years before. Yeah. And this took the mantle, I think, in a lot of ways. But I remember I have this thing in my mind, like this was in the IMDb top 250 when it first came out. I remember consciously watching it and being like, is this the new great comedy? Like, is this the I don't know, is this the Naked Gun of our time? Is this the movie that people will look back on the way they look at Police Academy and stuff? And I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think these movies life has gone? Do you think they still have relevance or the same sort of adoration?
I think they've aged kind of poorly. Like, there's a lot of jokes. There's a lot of jokes in these movies that would not fly today, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
But general reception, like what people think of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they have shaped a lot of comedy that came out from that wild card factor. Like, I feel like every comedy since then's had that wild card character.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like for me, like, I kind of missed these movies a bit. I think I was a little too old. Like, I wasn't in high school. I didn't have a group of friends that were seeing it. Like, Anchorman was that movie for me.
Yeah.
Not these movies, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the legacy of them in terms of, like, this kind of launched Bradley Cooper, Zach Galifianakis, and Ed Helms, really.
Helms. And Doug.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having a wonderful career.
I mean, look, they haven't all had the biggest career. Bradley Cooper's obviously the standout there, but
Ed Helms as well.
No, and Zach Galifianakis for a while was in bad comedies. Started up the Two Ferns thing, and this movie launched all three of them. I feel like into like the well-known like people sort of thing.
For sure.
And then like Todd Phillips, he made the highest-grossing R-rated movie of all time.
That's crazy.
Because of this movie. This movie made him a juggernaut in the industry. And we're feeling those effects. We got Joker 2 coming out this year. Like, that's kind of weird to look back on this and be like, yeah, this movie made him one of the big ones.
And he's got a great track record with sequels. I can't wait for Joker 2. Hope Mike Tyson shows up. That's the thing. I still look at The Hangover when I think it had actually been years since I rewatched it, but I've always I'd scroll past it on Netflix and I'd see The Hangover and I'm like, oh, I need to rewatch that one day. Like, and I still revered it as this like iconic comedy. Like, that is like I didn't even look at it as a trilogy, and I never watched 2 and 3 back when they came out because I'd heard the reception of 2, didn't even know there was a third one out, and that's the thing. I feel like without 2 and 3, The Hangover, I think, would still be considered such a more classic and like iconic film where there'd be such a demand for it. I feel like people are like, oh man, could you imagine if we got a Hangover 2 like 10 years later and Alan's getting married or something like that? But they just obviously they hit the jackpot and we're just like, okay, cool, more. Let's do this again and again and do the exact same thing again. And it just
they really churned them out. Yeah,
you're right. I think the reception has kind of soured because the trilogy made it that like all comedies do, they make 2 and 3 and people are like, oh yeah, they're all the same, whatever. And it kind of does color them poorly where people look back and go, there's 3 Hangover films, I don't know really anything different. I quote one and but yeah, if it was a single film, I think people would look at it with more of a fondness and be like, that was lightning in a bottle. Because things like Anchorman, Zoolander, Dumb and Dumber, they all had sequels years later, and I think those sequels damaged their reputations a bit. But those 3 movies are still the ones that everyone's like, they're iconic. They defined a lot of what people like, and yeah, if they all had trilogies and stuff coming out, I think we would remember it. And the same way The Hangover, to me, feels like that. It feels like, ironically, it feels like they've got a long hangover. These movies have a long hangover in the public's mind, where it was a fun night, but then it's like, oh, we had to sit through that twice more, and
like, man, I feel like it just got roofied.
Exactly.
All right, let's before we dig into the movies, let's dig into the stats. Stats. All right, Hangover 1 had a budget of $35 million. Amazing what you can do with a bunch of unknown actors. Made $469 million. That's quite a return. Hangover 2, $80 million budget, made $586 million.
Whoa!
Yeah,
what?
I mean, it's not uncommon.
People turned up.
Yeah, for the second movie to do better. Hangover 3, $103 million budget, made $362 million. Like, still incredibly profitable movie.
Definitely a downturn, though,
Yeah, I mean, people seem a bit like horror. People will just turn up to comedies, I feel like, in some ways.
Yeah.
Regardless of, like, the critical reception.
For sure. And I think, like, generally the people who... No, not generally. Like, a lot of people love the first one. And people who would come out for the first would have enjoyed the second one. A lot of people would have enjoyed the second, and then would have enjoyed the third as well. Like, they're not coming at it for like a critical evaluation. You know, they just want to see Bradley Cooper and Zach Galifianakis being dickheads.
Yeah. Critically, Metacritic has Hangover 1 at 73, Hangover 2 at 44, Hangover 3 at 30. That's a drop off.
Yeah, I knew these wouldn't be. I knew these weren't well liked, but I think 30 for number 3 is bad.
It's low.
It's low. Luke, do you know what the Rotten Tomatoes is for these?
So, I know the third one's a big drop off. 1 second. So Hangover is 79%. Hangover 2 is 52%. And Hangover 3, I swear, is like...
It's 20%.
It's 20%. 20%. Man, when I watched number 2 and then looked at 3's Rotten Tomatoes score, I remember being like, oh man, I'm not keen to watch this.
You want to get roofied to just get through that.
Yeah.
Man. Sorry, you go.
It's like very representative. I feel like, you know, it's like to go from an 80% movie that people still quote 15 years later, and then 20% with number 3, and I don't feel like it's not part of the zeitgeist. I don't feel like people know Hangover 3. You know No. I don't know if I'm very online. You know, I don't feel like I've ever seen a meme of like the giraffe, or anyone even talk about the giraffe, to the point that when it started, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is this? You know, like, it's like no one references it. Nobody talks about it. It's forgotten to time.
It totally is. Like, can you guys think of any comedies that kind of took the mantle from, like, beyond this movie? Sort of like, you know, massive comedies, like massive American comedies that kind of hit with almost everybody. We're just like everyone's, because I can't. Just like a quick Google of comedies of 2010s. It's like there's Jump Street, which is amazing, but
Jump Street's the only one that comes to mind. But I know it wasn't like it doesn't feel like it had the zeitgeist. This movie had like it isn't a cultural touchstone in the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I feel like they have aged a lot better than these movies.
For sure.
Like that scene from number 2 where he makes the joke about sleeping with the captain's daughter. I swear that clip comes up on Reddit every other week.
I saw it the other day.
Yeah. And it's great. I love it. But yeah.
Oh no, Jump Street, like some of the best comedies of the century. But yeah, you're right. They weren't like the juggernaut this was. And then there's things like Deadpool. It's on here. Game Night. These are movies that people like, but they're not the. There's nothing in the same.
Pineapple Express and like that whole Seth Rogen.
Yeah, Seth Rogen.
The Seth Rogen, James Franco phase, I feel like came after Hangover, where it was like these guys are the new comedy people and do all that.
Yeah. Like Pineapple Express was 2008 though, but you're right. Then Seth Rogen.
Oh, true.
Yeah, but then Seth Rogen. Yeah, you're right. They did sort of have some movies after that. But I don't know. I wonder if like the last 2 movies being so bad was like contributed to the death of comedy as we know it. Right. That's a recurring thing I like to talk about. How comedies, you don't get comedies in the movies anymore. They all go to streaming. And I'm like, there's lots of reasons for that, but I wonder if in some way this was like, after number 3, people are like, we can't do this anymore. These, I don't know. It just seems weird to have these, fade out and then we get nothing really to replace it.
You're right. There is this, like, I don't know. There's definitely been comedies since then. None of them have hit the same way.
That's what I mean.
And I feel like, in the last 5 years, there's been a real drought of them, right? Like,
I remember last year being when No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence came out. I remember being like, oh wow, this is unique, like a comedy, like a like a comedy, just a comedy film. This is unique. Yeah, but I really enjoyed that.
There was all that buzz about it. It was like, this is the first sort of raunchy comedy we've had in years, and it was like, it was a big kind of deal among, like, no one. I don't think it was very successful, but people that I listened to were like, yeah, this is interesting. We haven't seen this in ages.
Yeah. Anyone But You just came out.
Yeah. And all the reception of those movies is like, this is something we don't get anymore. Like, that's everybody just like, we don't get these. And, yeah. No.
Yeah, No Hard Feelings did 87 million at the box office.
It's pretty good. There's still a market for them.
Was there an Emmy award for that, though, recently?
There was something nominated.
Yeah, I feel like it got some sort of praise, critic, like at an awards show recently.
I think Jennifer Lawrence was nominated for like
Yeah, maybe that's what it
actress in
was.
comedy. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
it's really funny. Have you guys seen it?
No, I haven't.
No, okay. I recommend
I've seen that scene. That's it.
the piano.
That's the one. All right, let's get into the actual movies. The Hangover 1. Three buddies wake up from a bachelor party in Las Vegas with no memory of the previous night and the bachelor missing. They make their way around the city in order to find their friend before his wedding. This is such a good concept for a movie, I think. Like, because I don't know, I feel like comedies like to be really front loaded with their big moments, their big stupid moments, and this just lets you like, what the fuck is going on in this hotel room? There's a tiger in here. There's a baby. Like, what the shit is going on? And it works really, really well to give you that front-loaded, like, what the hell moment. And then it's kind of this murder mystery. Like, it's a mystery, right?
Yeah,
like you're piecing it together as you go. It's a lot of fun to follow along.
Yeah.
There's something genius about pairing it like a comedy in the shell of a mystery. So you have to like, you're always like, what? How did they get this out of hand? How did it get this stupid? Like, that is a really good
Knives Out. Sort of, that's a comedy, isn't it? And it's wrapped in a mystery, and it's like, I feel like it's very comedy.
I mean, I'd say that's a mystery wrapped in a comedy, but that's
the thing, and it works really well. Like having that comedy aspect with mystery.
There's a bit of that, because like it's a different kind of comedy to me, though. Like that's a smarter comedy, I guess.
Yes,
not to like be pointing down my nose at The Hangover or anything like that, but the Hangover definitely appeals to a very broad audience, where Knives Out I don't think does, at least not as a straight comedy. And I think I think that kind of comedy isn't necessarily dead. It's always been a smaller subset of comedy, I suppose.
Yeah,
I'd agree. Did you guys ever see Todd Phillips' earlier film Old School with like Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn?
No. Oh, no, I have seen it. Yes, I have seen it.
Yeah, so I watched that for the first time because I've just never seen it. And, like, a lot of people a bit older than us revere it. They think it's pretty, I think it's very good. And it was interesting watching it because I didn't really care for it, but it is just like that template of what a lot of comedies became in sort of the kind of like the mumblecore era, where it's just people hanging out talking, and it's just Will Ferrell just talking for a long time. It's Vince Vaughn just talking really fast. It's Luke Wilson being the straight man. And like, it kind of sets the template of that comedy where it's just like these comedic titans just ad-libbing and just going for broke. Like, and we see that again in the Anchorman stuff.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good. But then this movie is kind of different. Like, you've got Galifianakis doing that, where he's just bringing out some of the stupidest clips you could think of. But I don't know how much of it's ad-libbed, how much of it's scripted. But by having kind of like a really like important plot is incredibly central to this movie, because it's not just these guys hanging out, but like, man, how crazy was it when we did X? It was like, there's a lot more visual comedy. There's a lot more sort of fun in the chase. And it makes it a lot more, even though these movies have age poorly, it actually makes it a lot more endearing. Whereas like watching Old School now, it's like, this is just, it's like watching comedians make jokes about what was funny at the time, or sort of the sense of humor at the time.
Got like 89% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's it. People really liked it. But I think the problem with those comedies where it's just comedians talking and making jokes over and over again is like, once you've heard them, they kind of lose some of the impact. And if they're very like zeitgeist specific or culturally specific to that time, they just don't age that well. And I mean, I think that's not that funny. Whereas by having sort of the jokes along with this interesting sort of story and narrative, and I don't know, just watching them degrade further and further, and like all the little things like how their outfits change, seeing the tiger, how Zach Galifianakis gets the sunglasses and the baby. So there's just a lot of good visual gags that accompany it. And like, I don't know, because this movie is still really funny. Like I haven't seen it in years, but I laughed a lot in the first one.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't feel like comedians making jokes in this movie. Like Bradley Cooper is incredibly straight in this movie. Like he's not the funny man really at all. The groom, Doug, the most forgetful. Like he's barely an element in this movie. Ed Helms, funny things happen to him, but he's not really making jokes either. Like a lot of that rests on Zach Galifianakis and I guess what's his name, Chang.
Ken Jeong,
Ken Jeong. Like, it's those situations they get into for the most part, though, that drive the comedy, not people talking and ad-libbing and making funny.
Yeah, and that's a big shift away from the earlier comedy of the decade. like away from the Adam McKay stuff, which
Yep.
love it or hate it. Like I'm a fan of his stuff, but it's just it's a bit of a movie, and I wonder if that's why it was so made such an impression. It was just like this is different, and it feels kind of quaint now, but at the time it was pretty revolutionary. And I'd like, this movie's a really easy watch. It's a good like you put on the background and just kind of have it going.
Because it had been so long since I watched it, it was like so funny to me when watching it, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot about this bit. Like I forgot, like they have a valet and it's a cop car, and like I forget about that whole thing, and then it's like I completely even forgot the second time about the tiger. Like when they go back, I'm like, oh, that's right. They've still got to deal with the tiger. Like the tiger's still there. And oh, that's right. Mike Tyson's in this one. Like it was like when I was watching it, I was like, okay, we still got stuff to go. Like there's still a lot of events to happen. Ken Jeong hasn't shown up yet and jumped out of the boot naked. Like even this, like there's so much stuff that I had forgotten that I quote day to day. That came from this movie, anytime, and my wife and I both do this. If someone gets hit in the face, we're like, in the face. And we say it like that. And then when we're watching that scene and it happens, I'm like, oh my God, that's where this is from again. I forgot about that.
You forget about that.
Yeah. Oh man, when that kid gets up to shoot Alan, and it just like has that slow-mo thing of Alan watching this kid just like, and just death stare him. Oh, cracked me up so much.
It's really good. I love Bradley Cooper in this. Bradley Cooper is like he's got this might be my favorite Bradley Cooper, kind of the arrogant, like windswept hair, where he's just I don't know, like because he's a very handsome man, he's a very talented actor, but he's just like oozes charisma in this, and he's so unlikable, his character. Like the way he talks to the kids, he pulls up in front of Ed Helms' house and yells out some slurs. And it's just like he's such a prick.
The way the way he talks about his wife as well, and he's like, why would you want to do this to yourself? Like he's that guy, and he's an ass. Exactly,
the worst kind of person, like an archetype. But Cooper is so good at it because he's just naturally really likable. He's got incredibly good fashion sense, and he's just like raw animal magnetism, and like he's the perfect choice for it. Like he leads it so well, where you have that. Like the obnoxious, arrogant lead that you would still sort of follow because you're like, there's just something likable about it.
Like Alan that's constantly trying to replicate him, and you feel Alan. You're like, oh yeah, we've all had that cool friend,
I'm
like.
Alan,
I feel like you guys are like that with me. You're like, oh look at Luke, he's so cool. Like
that's the totally
same sort of thing. Same sort of thing.
Yeah, that's why we invited all our trips to Vegas. But yeah, exactly right. And then it was funny watching it where I'm like, I don't know why Ed Helms, like Stu or Doug are friends with them though. Like their friendship thing doesn't really make much sense. None of them seem to have anything in common or really.
Yeah.
Because they're just the three best friends that anybody can have.
The three white dudes that have known each other forever. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It does kind of feel like they're the friends from high school that get in touch occasionally, right? Like here's an occasion. But then that doesn't really ring true to real life, in my experience anyway. So I don't know about for you guys.
No, like neither. It's nitpicking to be like this comedy about getting roofied doesn't have overly believable backstories.
But there's that moment where they're drinking on the roof, like before the night goes wrong, and that's kind of like a nice, sweet moment. Like, I don't know, before it all goes to hell, it feels you can feel the love there.
No, you do. Like, it's saved by the chemistry because all their chemistry together is great. It's just like, but when I'm looking and I'm like, why would Stu be friends with these people? Why would they be friends with Stu? It's just this is what I see. But that's just me being a jerk.
But Ed, I don't know. I do see it from like a thing from high school. Everyone goes off in different paths, and some people become cool, and some people don't become pretty lame. And like some people are like Alan and.
But have you ever been like, I'm getting married, so I'm going to call up my two oldest friends from high school who I don't really have a relationship with anymore and be like, come to my bachelor party?
Well, I invited you to, but you didn't show up.
But that's the thing. We're active friends, not from high school. Like,
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I'm with Griner on this, like people that I know and even ones that I catch up with regularly, I'm like, if I was going to have a bachelor party, I would not call these guys from high school who I'm like, we've just got time because we've all gone our separate ways. Maybe America's just a different place.
I don't know. Like, different people and stuff like that. But like my wife, she invited her best friend from high school to our wedding, sort of thing, at like a short notice, and she hadn't seen her in years and years, and she came, and they're like best friends, but hadn't seen each other in a very long time, and it was just a thing. So some people do.
I mean,
All my friends from school are lame.
yes, they're the Allens.
Yes, exactly. All my friends were Allens, unfortunately.
You guys think Mike Tyson was in on the joke?
No. I don't think Mike Tyson's ever been in on the joke.
No, I'm not sure that he has. Yeah. It's a pretty good moment. I don't know. He's got to be that. He's got to have that much self-awareness, surely.
When in the second one, it becomes cool. Like when he's rapping or singing, and it's like so out of tune.
But when he's performing,
it goes for so long.
Yeah.
He sings for so long in the second one.
He does, but it's like he's awful. And I'm like, surely he's not thinking he's doing good, right? I can't.
He knows his voice.
Like that's it. I cannot imagine he's lived his whole life and being like, yeah, sure. I can't believe a world where he doesn't. He's not in on the joke.
No, you're probably right.
It was funny though. That's the thing. It really did bring Mike Tyson, I feel like, out of the woodwork after all of his transgressions. He'd sort of disappeared out of the limelight, and that just brought him back as this comedic thing. And
he was a meme. He was a bit of a meme for a while. Is that now Kith meme where he's like holding two pigeons or whatever? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The other meme that I still remember is Alan calculating the blackjack. So he's still moving the numbers around him. Like that's the one.
Yeah,
still say all the time.
Around. That's really good. Speaking of like lines and things we quote still, Jeffrey Tambor saying, except for herpes, that shit comes back to you. That is probably the most quoted line of this movie that I hear from people. Like anytime you make a joke about herpes, someone will say that shit comes back with you.
Yeah.
Like
your language is offensive. Dare you, she's a nice lady.
Yeah, man.
There's so many lines. There's so many one-liners. There's just with the delivery. It's like, oh my god, I forgot about that line.
It's embedded itself into the culture. Yeah. What do you guys think of Zach Galifianakis overall? Like after these movies, what do you think about him and his? I don't know, his whole shtick.
I think it works in Between Two Ferns. Like I think I find that show pretty funny. I've never like sat and watched the whole show. I enjoy watching clips of it when they pop up in social media. Like I find those to be genuinely funny for the most part. But I can't say I've like really liked another of his movies ever.
I watched Due Date with him and Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, RDJ.
And it was awful. It was awful. I did not enjoy it. And I feel like even the Alan experiment, and as Alan really works in the first film, really works. And I feel like they realized that, and then they amplified it up to 100 for 2 and 3, and they were just like, let's just make it all about Alan doing weird shit, and it's not funny anymore.
It's Alan and Chow that they do that with. Both of them just get turned up to 11 and it doesn't work. Yeah.
Doesn't work.
It's Jack Sparrow syndrome, yeah. So yeah, you're 100%, like because the plot in 2 and 3 revolve literally around them and their weird relationship, and it's just
and it's not interesting. Like, why Ken Jeong was so funny in the first one? It was so random. Like, why is this naked Asian dude jumping out of the boot? Yeah. Don't make the whole plot around him, and he's this crime overlord and all that sort of stuff.
I would say he has that effect on everything. Like even Community, when he became like a main part of Community kind of sucked.
It starts to go
downhill.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah. It's like he's kind of too good. It's because
he's best taken in small doses.
Yeah. But he's so good in small doses that you want to give him more screen time. He's pure junk food.
How many naked jump on someone and toodaloo, motherfucker?
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. Great time.
Mine's the window. See, everyone quoted that too.
Yeah. There's a lot of slurs that he says that people quote.
Yeah.
We won't repeat him here, but
no,
that's high school for you. Yeah, just Galifianakis' career, like he just makes a lot of bad comedies doing the Alan thing, and I don't know. I don't know if I've seen any of them, but that's probably why.
Yeah.
I think I might have seen Due Date as well.
It's just,
But you're right,
I mean,
the 22
he's like a voice in a bunch of animated stuff. That's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious to see what happens with, like, I love when comedians take their serious role and it's like, oh, this guy, it's like whenever Adam Sandler makes a serious movie, it's like, hell yeah. I would love to see Galifianakis try that and make some serious drama and just blow me out of the water, but
there probably is one, right, in amongst all this stuff.
maybe.
like, if he needs to show up as Scarecrow in Joker 2 with Joaquin Phoenix.
That is exactly right. And they need to go
Or Clayface.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Heather Graham in this? Do you like that little arc they have?
I love Heather Graham.
Yeah, she's great.
I think
she's great in this. She's funny. And I remember being disappointed that that's not who he was getting married to in the second one.
What is up with that? Like, I was going to leave it till number 2, but what we talk about here? Why would... was there a story behind that? Does anyone know?
No, I don't know. It gives him an excuse to go to Thailand, I guess, and that's where they wanted it set.
It's just a bad choice. You literally had the story there.
And she was funny. Like, it's, I don't know.
It's like she's a comedic, like, heavyweight. She's got a good history of being funny in movies. So,
yeah.
I think
says, it says she sat out part 2 because it took the boys to Thailand. Yeah.
It's like if she had been the wife, though, I'm sure it might have been a different.
Like, they could have just, I don't know. We want our wedding in Thailand. I don't know.
Destination wedding.
There's a lot relying on that family joke about her dad being like an old fashioned Thai dad, but it's a shame. Second one's struggling.
Heather Graham could have had an old fashioned Thai dad.
Like, why not? Honestly, in a movie like this, would anyone be like, whoa?
Yeah,
I can't.
That could have been the joke that her whole family's Thai. She's just there. She's just like, hey guys.
That would have actually been.
And it's just an unexplained thing. No one says anything except Alan. Alan's the only one who noticed something.
Are we writing our own Hangover? Is this happening live?
Yeah, let's fix Hangover too.
No, let's just rewrite one. We'll call it, I don't know, The Next Day. It's the same basic joke.
The Aussie Hangover.
Lazy, but I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but she's great in number 1. So
yeah, real good.
All right, should we move on? Get into the shit.
Yeah. Only other quote is that I've heard used a lot that I really like is it's on the corner of Get a Map.
Actually, I'll just go through my quick list of quotes as well. We did. Thanks a lot, Bin Laden. Is really funny. Good. It's politically incorrect to say, but the way he pronounces retard is really good. It's like he was a retard.
That was
everybody. That's how everyone
said it. How everyone said it, and obviously people don't say it anymore at all. No. But it's I love that other thing that he says when he's like, when he's talking to the doctor, and he's like, "Doc, none of us remember last night. Remember?" It's like, remember, guys? None of us remember last night. Wasn't it crazy?
Yeah. And the other one is the Tiger song is really funny. Ed Helms' little like piano bit. Again, just like jokes that come out of nowhere. Just this stupid, like really earnest song. Lyrics are great. I remember I was in a cafe once, and that came on the playlist, and I was like, "What is this song?" I remember this, and like I spent ages. I was googling it. I was like, "What are the words?" And I found it. I was like, "Oh yeah, the Hangover song." But it's super random, like this inner west, hipster cafe playing the Hangover song.
Yeah, and it really, like we already mentioned it, but yeah, it really did bring Phil Collins, like that song, back into the mainstream.
Was that before the Cadbury ad?
I was going to say, there was a few other things like the Cadbury
ad. It was after, but I still don't
that.
think it blew up though with Cadbury and the gorilla.
Not as much like that.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like every generation has a Phil Collins moment, and maybe the Cadbury moment was mine, and the Hangover can be yours.
Oh, Tarzan as well. Remember the Tarzan soundtrack? Slaps.
It does slap.
Actually, the Cadbury Gorilla advert was 1 year before Hangover. They stole
maybe that
it from Cadbury.
I don't think anyone in America saw that ad. So
True.
Yeah,
Todd Phillips is not eating Cadbury chocolate. Or is he?
what a madman.
All right. 2 years after a bachelor party in Las Vegas, Phil, Stu, Alan, and Doug jet to Thailand for Stu's wedding. Stu's plan for a subdued pre-wedding brunch, however, goes seriously awry.
Who could have seen this coming?
I'm wondering this.
I was going to say, talk about going back to the well. Like,
Literally, like, it's done the exact same way. Like, the whole movie, like, start off with a phone call, you know, oh, that's not going to happen. And let's go back 24 hours. And I couldn't believe it when I was watching it. I was just like, oh, they really are just doing everything the same. So, yeah.
Like, on one hand, I didn't I don't know what I expected though. I went into it's like, all right, it's the Hangover again. What's going to happen in this one? And as it's happening, you're like, well, yeah, of course, it's just another Hangover. It's in the title.
What? They're getting another hangover? What?
Yeah, but you're right. It's pretty shameless how it's just like,
there's an animal in the room. Like, it's just Ed Helms has some physical deformation.
Physical thing there. Zach Galifianakis looks like a real mess again. Bradley Cooper's still somehow really attractive, even though he's just covered in looks like literal crap in some parts. His shirt is so stained and dirty. But I don't know. The only thing that's clever is how they introduce a new Doug character, and they're like, it's not Doug getting lost this time; it's the brother.
Doug's
that's just kind of funny. Yeah, Doug's like at the hotel having brunch, and this is really nice.
They knew that was one step too far, right? Like we can't have Doug get stuck somewhere again.
Yeah, this movie sucks though. This movie's genuinely not very funny. I don't think it.
Why doesn't it work though? Because my wife and I don't have nostalgia for these movies. I had seen the first one before, but I don't have any I don't have a ton of fondness for it. And my wife,
what did you think?
My wife really liked the second film.
More than the first one, maybe.
I think so. And I was like, this is much the same. Like, I didn't feel like it was significantly worse than the first one.
Luke, your wife does it as well?
No. I just Grono told me earlier, and I was waiting.
Luke
for
could not believe it when I said it before.
The hot take. All the face. It could be nostalgia, because I never watched the second one or third one, but I don't believe that's the case. That may have a big part of it, and that's why everything else just feels like, oh, it's more of the same. It's not. But I didn't enjoy the second one. I don't find it memorable.
No.
I could see myself rewatching the first one. I don't know if I'll ever rewatch the second or third one again.
Like, I will never. I swear on the old gods and the new to never watch 2 and 3 again, unless we do like a high
remastered one.
Yeah, of all these episodes.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you saw this movie first, if for whatever reason you caught Hangover Part 2 on TV and you'd never seen it before, you would probably think this was really funny. Because there's not that there's callbacks, but it's not dependent on it. It is very much just, where are we going? We've got to go here. Because it's so formulaic. It follows the exact formula.
Yes.
The most there is a handful of jokes where you did this again, and so you just like, oh yeah, this is the second time. But I don't see how you could watch the first one, then watch this, and then be like, that was better, because the jokes are all the same but not as good. None of them are as memorable. Like, I have one quote written down, and it's about Doogie Howser, who turned out to be a gay, and that was the only funny line. But then the rest of it's like you say, Alan is just kind of turned up to 11, but not as clever. Ken Jeong's just I don't know. Nothing was quotable. All the events, it's they're going to go here, and I don't know. It's literally just they're doing the same jokes, but because you've seen the first one, it's like, okay, I've seen this joke. I don't see.
I watched this movie 3 weeks ago. I don't remember. I remember the start up until the hangover. I remember the first scene in that room and Ken Jeong's naked on the floor with his thing hanging out. Yeah. And then I remember
the monkey
Mike Tyson singing at the end. It's basically it.
That's
the middle part is just not memorable whatsoever to me.
There's the in-depth depiction of Stu having sex with a ladyboy.
Talking about things that have aged poorly.
Yeah.
I was watching. I'm like, this came out after the first one, and they thought it was a good idea. What? And it's just they play it up for a long time.
They bang that down hard.
They do.
They bang it up the bum. Yeah, it's just not funny. There's a lot more genitals in this, a lot more monkeys licking dicks, and
It did feel
That's
to me
just
like
animal cruelty, man.
they're trying to turn everything up, and that's not necessarily what worked about the Hangover one. Like the Hangover one wasn't a good movie because it was pushing the envelope or anything like that. Like it, yeah. And then obviously there's so much more Alan and so much more Chow.
Yeah.
And they just there's too much of them.
Alan alone, I don't feel is funny. Like it's like
No.
Alan being this like odd character around the other people, like and their reaction, like Bradley Cooper's reaction to these odd comments from that is what makes that so funny, like.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's sort of it's very much just turned up to 100 and just like, okay, he's so weird. Alan's so weird. Look at Alan, the star of our movie now. He's so weird instead of the odd third character.
That's the thing. It tries to channel some more fish out of water energy with him, and it doesn't work. Like what this movie feels like is it feels like kind of like fans writing a sequel and being like, all right, let's make jokes like they did in the first one, right? And this time they go down to the strip club in Bangkok, and what happens there? Oh, it goes crazy. It goes even crazier, and there's a riot. Like it feels like fans doing it, which is a segue into my point. Do you know who one of the writers is on this movie? The boy, 2019's Golden Boy, Craig Mazin, is credited as the head writer of Hangover Part 2, and he's the secondary writer in Part 3. Luke, explain this to me, please.
You're responsible for Craig Mazin, Luke. You need to justify this.
I know you love Chernobyl, and I know The Last of Us was the greatest thing to happen to you last year. So explain to me I want to know what's happened. What
growing pains? I don't know. Like that's Todd Phillips also made Joker. So I don't know. It's I feel no passion in Hangover 2. I feel like it's something they churned out. How long was it between 1 and 2?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. They churned it out in 2 years. I feel like it was, hey, let's make a sequel. I do not think there was much thought behind it. I cannot see Craig Mazin putting that out there and being like, my masterpiece. Like this is, I'm super proud of my work.
That was number 3. That was number 3. He was waiting. He was working.
Yeah. Okay. He was like, no, one day I'll write a story about two dudes making love, and it'll be a lot better than this. He was waiting for Last of Us episode 3.
All the gay jokes in this, he was like, this is going to pay off one day when it's not the joke. Don't you worry.
Yeah. He's like, I'll make you ashamed of your words and deeds.
Like his career is so strong. I'm looking at his thing here. It's like he writes a movie called Rocket Man, Senseless, Scary Movie 3, 4, Superhero Movie, The Hangover Part 2, Identity Thief, Hangover Part 3, Huntsman Winter's War.
It is a thing of comedy people going into serious where it works really well.
But it's like these are bad comedies as well. Scary Movie 3 is awesome, but Scary Movie 4, Superhero Movie, bad. So it's like bad movies for at 6. And then he makes Chernobyl.
Out of nowhere.
Like, what happened?
Yeah.
It's the strangest thing. I was seeing his name on this as like head writer. I'm like, I can't figure it out. But like, I guess like you say, unless maybe he's just like, it was a job for hire, right? He's like, we need to just write The Hangover Part 1 in 2 weeks. He's like, yeah, I can do that.
Dude, people grow up a lot in 10 years. He was in a bad place in his life.
That's true.
We caught him in his bad phase.
Yeah, it's just weird to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Todd Phillips, like he's hit and miss.
Yes,
I don't know. I didn't know he did. Is it War Dogs or War Pigs or
which one? The one about
with Jonah Hill and I've seen people talking about that like crazy recently on Twitter. Like it seems to be trending where people are like this film was super underrated, and I didn't realize he did that either. Neither of you watched it?
No.
See, so I don't know, but people love that. But yeah, Joker's universally loved. And I remember when Joker came out, you and I we talked about like, I can't believe this is the Hangover dude.
It was a weird turn.
Yeah,
I don't. But he's an interesting case study because that movie's divisive. People don't universally love Joker some people loathe that movie.
Yep.
A lot of people do.
Killed at the box office.
But like it's undeniably a smash hit. But I think there's a lot. But it's like, Yeah, that movie's discourse was dominated by the politics of it, which I don't think is the right way to talk about a movie necessarily, especially not a movie like that. But it is interesting watching these and sort of seeing some of the things that he's interested in, being like, yeah, there is some of those. I can actually see some of these weird ideas permeating through his stuff. I don't know. I'm not a here nor there on Todd Phillips, really. I haven't seen enough of his stuff to judge. No, actually, I have seen enough of his stuff to judge. I'm not a huge fan. But we'll wait till Joker 2 comes out.
Wait till Joker 2, the musical. See, this is when now he's appealing to Griner.
That's right.
This will be Griner's Dark Knight.
I'll be singing those show tunes. Don't you worry.
Boy, howdy. Yeah, Griner, what did you think of this?
Hangover 2.
Yeah, Hangover 2.
Yeah, look, like I said, it just felt like they tried to push everything just that bit further, and they pushed on the wrong things, I suppose. Like I say, it's just too much Alan, too much Chow. I I like that they didn't go down the path of having Doug get lost again, but I don't feel like the whole story about the brother and him losing his finger didn't feel. I never cared that much, right? Like, I kind of felt bad for him for losing his finger. Like, that's kind of actually a permanent disability this guy now has, and he's supposedly very bright. Like, he'll never be a surgeon or whatever. But yeah,
but he's happy with it at the end.
It doesn't work though, because the first one, you really were like, where the hell is Doug? Like, what the hell happened with this guy that is one of the four for the first 20 minutes, half hour of the movie. And it's like, okay, where the hell is he? That one, halfway through the movie, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't care. I don't. Yeah, he's in Thailand. People go missing all the time. I don't know.
Body smuggling. People trafficking.
I can guess what's happened. I don't care. I'm over it. Do you think it could have worked if one of the three went missing?
I just don't think you can split those three up and have a Hangover movie that works.
Like, that's exactly why Doug exists. So they have these three following Mr. MacGuffin himself. Yeah. It would be funny if his name was Doug MacGuffin. That would have been a great joke. Yeah, like, they need to introduce a character, because if you get rid of...
Yeah, you could just lose Doug again. Like, I don't care about Doug that much. And I know the characters care about Doug.
I would be angry if they're like, Doug's gone again. I'd just be pissed off.
You have him still marrying Heather Graham, and Heather Graham goes missing.
Yeah, like, that works, actually. Yeah. And that's
like, his wife's missing.
Yeah,
we all like Heather Graham. Where the hell is she?
Yeah. He's like,
she lost her wedding finger. Her wedding finger's missing.
But just, I can't get married until I literally find my wife. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. This movie is lazy. What do you guys think?
Paul Giamatti subplot where he like fakes him out, like, just, I don't know, unnecessary and weird and not entertaining in the slightest.
No, it becomes a trend in the third as well, where they just introduce like really good actors. The third one has John Goodman.
Yes,
and it says Paul Giamatti in there as like 2 scenes. And I don't really get why. I guess it's just to be like, look, we can.
Yeah, and then the resolution of the whole thing being like, he was under your nose the whole time, like.
That's the problem.
He was the first one.
Because it's that's why I didn't care about it. It's like, he's just going to be somewhere where there's like, he least suspects.
Yeah.
And what did you guys think of Thailand as like the setting? Did you see a lot of it?
I think it's a good choice. Like, you need a Sin City essentially. And I think Bangkok fits that bill well. It gives them a few more. It should give them a few more like fish out of water moments, but I don't know that it's used super well.
No.
Yeah.
No, the police station they go to, they just is very non-eventful. They're like,
and there's that whole like riot subplot that kind of goes nowhere and means nothing. Like, yeah.
It's just kind of used as a quick like, haha, it gets crazy in Bangkok. Yeah. And sometimes got a very brown color scheme as well.
I was going to say, it's got that whole like 2007 PS3 piss filter.
Everything's sepia tone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even with having the old monk, where he just kind of.
Oh, I forgot about the old monk.
It's kind of funny at times, but it's like there's a whole plot, but like, we need to get him home, and it's like, why is it? It's just kind of weird, and I don't really think it adds a whole lot.
Rush Hour 3 has a funnier monk, so they can't top that.
Rush Hour is a trilogy we should do again.
That was a comedy trilogy.
There's some comedies.
There you go.
Keep your hands off Craig Mazin. Don't ruin Rush Hour.
Yeah, Brett Ratner's got it handled.
It's got this
It's in
Look,
safe
it's him.
hands.
He's in their very handy hands. So.
Mike Tyson sings for way too long for my comfort. At the end, I feel like it's like 6 or 7 minutes, but
It's kind of
you
just
like
the end, though, right? Like it's
yeah, I know, but maybe I was just really over the movie by that point. And
Yeah.
the first one's got that dude singing Candy Shop in like a
that
True.
band is really funny. I was looking because they're like they're a comedy band. They appear in a few other things. So it's where he's like right up in people's ears.
yeah,
And it's like
grinding on like an old lady as he's
Yeah.
singing Candy Shop. Like
that part was really funny.
yeah,
I'm glad they brought Mike Tyson back. Like I thought it was funny having him again, but you're right. He sings for way too long, and I would have just rather like another sort of brief cameo rather than let's hear him rap a whole song.
It's the whole thing. Like it's the exact same problem with the rest of the movie. Is where like, oh, that Mike Tyson moment was really funny. Let's do that for an extra 5 minutes because more of it will be more funny, right?
it should have
Actually,
been another
completely
out
right.
of left field like celebrity, like Mike Tyson was in the first one.
Yeah, it should have been someone different. It should have
Yeah,
been
that's
like Hasselhoff or
Hasselhoff.
something.
God,
We're on the same wavelength.
You
You
guys
and
just
me, Luke.
become best friends.
Hasselhoff, 100%.
He's too busy making SpongeBob.
I know. Maybe it's SpongeBob that's colouring my desire to have Hasselhoff in this movie.
No, because he's in Click as well, and he's really good in Click. Like, he's got a big
true.
role in Click, but he's fine. No, Hasselhoff's a good choice. You're right. Just anyone probably would have been better, but
Yeah.
I know. And the
If it was
monkeys
made now, it would have been Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves would have showed up.
yeah,
But back then,
would be.
it wouldn't have. Yeah.
Different time. And the monkey's not as good as the monkeys. Yeah, like there's more jokes, but it's I don't know. I just don't find monkeys that funny in movies. Like a lot of movies rely on monkey gags, and I never find them.
I
enjoyable.
love monkeys, man.
Like I love the.
Did you watch Planet of the Apes with us?
They were man monkeys. They're very different.
They're also apes. They're not.
Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
be a monkey racist?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not apist.
Next, you'll be saying orangutans are all this. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, I think you're right about monkeys. Like they're a little bit of a crutch. Like if you need a comedic animal, throw in a monkey. They can smoke. They can lick a penis. They can like there's so many things they can do that are hilarious.
Yeah.
I feel like 90s sitcoms did that. They were like, hey, look, there's a monkey.
Yeah.
Isn't there literally a Friends episode where that happens? Am I
There's a
imagining
Friends
that?
season where that happened. Ross has
I-
a monkey. Marcel.
Joey
about-
turns into a monkey.
Talk about bad comedies. Friends.
Don't.
Bad show.
Don't besmirch Friends.
I'm sure
Todd
Kramer has
Phillips.
a monkey at some point too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes,
Kramer's got monkey energy.
He does.
All right,
Okay.
let's move on. Hangover Part 3. When one of their own is kidnapped by an angry gangster, the wolf pack must track down Mr. Chow, who has escaped from prison and is on the run. No hangover in this movie.
Yeah, big. I don't know which if I hate it more or like it more for that, right? Because
I
it
feel like they
completely
should
I'm
have gone
a
to
bit
the well
same.
and done it again.
it completely ignores the premise, but as a result, it becomes the most bland, like crime sort of caper film I've ever seen.
Yep.
And it's really, like we said, it's really these movies kind of need that drive of let's find someone, let's actually, like what happened last night. The comedy being in the escapades they get up to, whereas this is just, it's really kind of. It's like let's get some gold to save Chow because they have Doug. Am I remembering that correctly?
John Goodman kidnaps Doug.
He kidnaps
It's
Doug.
back in
yeah.
Hangover 1.
Yeah.
Black Doug messed up something.
That's right. They try to loop it all around back to Hangover 1 with Black Doug and
Yeah,
They do a lot of
Yeah.
flashbacks
yeah.
in number 3.
yeah. I truly don't know if I hate this movie more or less because
It is really like we doubled down on Alan and Chow in number 2. It didn't do it, but I guess the problem is box office wise that movie smashed, right? But critically it did not. But it feels like they just doubled down again on Alan and Chow, right? Like
Yeah, they tripled down.
This
It was
movie is Chow's movie almost.
it's literally he's as much of a main character as any of the others.
Yeah.
Like it opens with him. He's escaping prison. Like he is the focal point. Yeah.
yeah.
And we talked about it earlier. Like it's too much of an annoying thing to the point that it's just annoying. Like Chow's annoying. Like he's not like a fun character that you want to watch or do all this stuff. I find him just annoying.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch him sniffing someone's butt and then eating dog food and having dog food on his face. I'm just like,
Yeah, it's just things like that. It's like there's
grossed
no
out.
there's nothing funny really about that. Like, besides a haha, what a gross joke, but there's just nothing clever. There's no layer. There's nothing clever about it. It's like, you know.
But he's doing that as well. He's like going, ha 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 ha, isn't it funny?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I could see Alan doing that and being like, I'm in character, like, that's funnier than Chow just like laughing and being like, oh, look, I'm being silly. Like, it's just annoying.
It's like I'm making jokes. So that's kind of not the point. Yeah. Whenever characters start making jokes in verse, you know there's a problem. It's something not right. Yeah, I don't know, even Alan's a lot less likable in this. The whole opening thing with the giraffe is really dumb. And he's just like a real shit to his parents.
Yes. Yeah.
And like it's kind of they add this idea that he's just the most obnoxious person to his parent.
Yeah.
Like it's just weird. So it makes him really unlikable and unnecessarily so. Like he was already clearly just a weird person. But to add this bizarre, like he's just contemptuous of everybody except Phil. And like it's him and Stu as well. He has this weird energy with Stu where he's like, I don't want to have to discipline you, but and it's just this weird dynamic. It's like I don't get what the changes they make, what's the point of it is.
Yeah, it feels like in 2 they kind of introduced a bit more of that, you know, hey mum, make me a sandwich or whatever, and then in 3 they double down on that, and he's just an absolute shit.
He's just an abusive piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like it's real. That's the thing. You can't root for him because it's like he's not just an odd dude that lives with his parents.
No, like,
it's like he's actually an asshole.
That's it. He's very likable in the first one because he's so you can tell he's just like this weird guy who's got no friends and can't. You know, I would wager a guess he's probably on the spectrum, but like, there's clearly some stuff wrong. He's got some
stuff. They broke the mold of the spectrum.
They've smashed it apart. And there's this sense of like he is kind of that awkward guy who never had friends, but he's got a good heart. And in 3, he's just by also introducing him being best friends with Chow, it's like I really hate him now because he can clearly have friendships and it's with terrible people. He's just
The giraffe thing, though, I just couldn't get over it. I was just like, what is going on? It looks so bad to start with, even before its head gets lopped off. And then when its head just actually gets lopped off, I'm like, is that the joke? Like, is it like, a giraffe got his head knocked off and landed on this window? It's just, I was just like, this is so stupid. I was like, I am not in for a good time.
No. You know what else has giraffes in it? The Last of Us. Craig Mazin. It's all making sense. It's all making sense. That's why he took this movie. He's like, I need to get my CG giraffes done properly.
He's like, I did the giraffes dirty. He just started Googling. He's like, what has a good depiction of giraffes in storytelling? Shit, Last of Us. Okay, I need to work something out with that.
Maybe he's just super guilt-driven. Because I need to undo
I don't blame him. He should be.
The nuclear damage that The Hangover did. What else had nuclear damage? Yeah. One funny scene in this movie, and that's Melissa McCarthy's kind of part.
Yes.
I thought that was pretty funny where there's just it overstays its welcome a lot with
they have good chemistry.
But it is just funny seeing like just their sort of weird romances.
Yeah.
It's
it feels a little forced. Like it's so obvious what's going to happen the moment you even meet that character. I feel like,
sure.
And then it does overstay its welcome a little bit, but it works. Like I think there is a better movie there somewhere. Tone back Alan and have it be his. I don't know. Have it be something about his courtship with her. Move on to the wedding. Like there's other things you can do. I don't know. Chow is I think the thing that really ruins it.
Yeah,
I think he's way too much. I mean, Alan is obviously an ass too. They need to dial both of them back, and there's a better movie there.
But you're right, it's a total misunderstanding of how the energy of the first one worked because, like, their dynamic was Ed Helms was really likable. Doug was just completely bland as necessary. Bradley Cooper was like the strong leader who you just kind of like, and Alan was a wild card. There's just a great there is someone to follow. They're all a little bit unlikable, but they're sort of. Like they're sympathetic, like all of them you can relate to. You can imagine, like this would be sort of a group of guys who would be kind of fun to hang out with because they're making jokes, they're a bit crass, but whatever. Whereas in the end, Bradley Cooper is not a character in the third one. He's really just there to be like, guys, what do we got to do? He's just purely Ken Jeong and Alan, and it's.
Horrible.
You're right. There's no one to root for. There's no reason to care if they get out of this because you're following the wrong people. Like I don't know. It is kind of a mystery how the movie gets written that way. I'm obsessed with this of why Craig Mason screwed it up so much because it's just so weird to me.
Alan has a beautiful singing voice at the funeral.
You reckon that was him, or do you reckon it's done?
There's no way that's him. There's no way.
I don't know.
There's no way. See, I thought the gag there was gonna be like he's doing that, and then like starts talking, and it keeps playing, and he like pulls out like a Discman and like stops it, and so he's just like lip syncing it for like 5 minutes or something like that.
That would have been fun. Man, we could write a better Hangover movie, guys. I don't want to overstate this.
We are better writers than Craig Mason.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
Neil
here.
Druckmann, hit us up, man.
What to me?
Conan's got a great pitch for Last of Us 3.
Last of Us meets Hangover. Yeah, I don't know. This movie was bad time.
Did you enjoy 3 at all?
No.
You see that's the thing. So you put 2 on an equal footing of 1, but here you can see a
No. It's not that I put 2 on an equal footing with 1. I don't think I hate 2 as much as you guys did. But 3, I think 3 is clearly like the worst of the 3.
Yeah.
What did your wife think?
She didn't enjoy this one. Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Conan. Like, I don't know whether to like it more or hate it more because it didn't go back to the well because there is no hangover.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you could there must be a way to write a movie about a hangover without like following that plot point to point. You know what I mean? Like,
surely, right? Like, just the idea of dealing with the consequences of a big night or something. Like, they would have had,
something triggers their PTSD from the first one and actually just have like a blackout episode. Like, you know, PTSD, blackout, seizure. That's not an actual hangover.
Maybe they discover they're addicted to the hangover and they need that feeling of forgetting it again.
The guy's like, all right, let's get plastered one more time.
All right,
so but they try to set it up so it's like in a safe padded room so they can't get into too much trouble. But then somehow it all still goes wrong.
So every year they meet up to get a hangover because like this is the only thing that fills me with joy anymore.
Yeah.
Brother Cooper's lost his family. Ed Helms is divorced.
I need to forget one more day, please.
And Alan is functioning like a normal human being, and he just can't cope with the day-to-day dreariness.
Yeah,
happily married, and he doesn't.
Yeah, he's like, can't feel. Like, you're right. There could have been a way to do it. I don't know. Because
it's a weird thing to sit here and be like, oh, they could have written this movie this way, but I don't know. This just feels like a strange choice to not include any sort of hangover.
Like, yeah, I truly think this movie just does all the worst choices it takes. Because it's like, let's pick a really sort of run-of-the-mill, like a very cliche genre that is like, I've got to get the mob boss the money before he kills me or my friend. Like, those movies are a dime a dozen. It takes that, it does nothing new with it. And like, you would think maybe it would be like, what if they were all hungover and they had to do that or something? That's kind of funny. Like, there's a lot you could sort of work in, and they just do the most basic they can think of. And it's like, I guess the mystery, for lack of a better word, is like, well, how are we going to get this money? But then it's just following Chow the whole time. He's it's like, I don't know.
Chow is so unlikable too, and I know he's kind of a villain, but he's not really. He doesn't feel like a villain in these movies.
He kills John Goodman, man. I was hoping John Goodman would kill him.
Yeah.
And when he jumps out, I'm like, no! Damn it.
What did you guys think of the tease of a hangover at the end of the movie? So, we get Ed Helms waking up with breasts.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty silly. Did you not see that, Luke?
Did I miss that?
So it's Alan and Melissa McCarthy's wedding.
Yeah,
it's the day. I think it's the day after the wedding. Chow has drugged the cake or something, roofied the cake.
Roofied everyone.
Yeah, and so Ed Helms has had a boob job somehow with amazing healing overnight on a boob job.
No scars.
No scars.
I must have been tuned out by that point. All I remember was is them doing like the flashback of like them walking down the hallway at Caesar's Palace, and then like, oh look, we've finished our trilogy, and here's us now walking as 4 married people.
I think it's like it's a mid-credit scene or something. I think
could be, yeah.
It could be mid-credits because as soon as the credits popped up, I peaced out. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, thank God.
done.
It's not a bad little teaser, I think. But yeah,
No, it
That was,
opens
10
like
years ago.
it is. That was going to be my question. What would you guys say to like another Hangover movie long after, or like either like a girls' version, which that's a running thing that they do in comedies. They sort of create the female version of the same franchise, or like introduce Melissa McCarthy to their
isn't that
dynamic.
Bridesmaids though?
It's Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids really good.
Isn't shit Melissa McCarthy in Bridesmaids?
Yeah,
as
she
well?
is.
Yeah.
And she's basically the Alan character in Bridesmaids also.
Yeah. Which is why I think that joke works well, because
Yeah.
it's like she is the female version of him.
Yeah. I don't know, just reading here, like apparently Bradley Cooper's open to a Hangover 4, but Todd Phillips is not interested for some reason. I don't think it could work. Like, give it a few more years, let it cook for a bit longer. But I think a movie where they all come back together, I think there'd be an appetite for it, especially with the way comedy has kind of turned out in the last few years.
What do you do for it though? Do you go back?
You go, but you 100% go back to the well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
Like you do like the American Pie thing. It's like they have a reunion for whatever reason. It's like someone's wedding anniversary, and they're like, "It's been 10 years since Vegas. Let's do Vegas again."
Doug's 10-year wedding anniversary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you just do the classic either. Like you do funny things like I don't know. There's not even a hangover, but they keep anticipating one, or it's like little bits of a hangover happen, or something. Like you could do a lot of funny jokes playing with the formula and like subverting where it goes, doubling down on things like I don't know. You could. I reckon I really enjoy those comedies, like even like American Pie Reunion and stuff, where they come back to it and it's like, let's just see these characters because the chemistry is so good. And if you went back to it, it was just like it was the titular three. Maybe have Doug in there if you want, and just have them cook together for a while. But like, his whole thing is he's not needed.
Oh, I know.
Do you know what it is? All their weddings fall apart because they find out what happened on that original night. The wives all find out some stuff they got into, and they have to get into a time machine and go back and stop that first night from ever happening.
Is that time machine in a hot tub?
Hot tub time machine.
There's a comedy for you.
Yeah.
That movie kicks ass. Let's do Hot Tub Time Machine next.
There's no trilogy of it.
There's two of them.
Wait, is there?
Yeah.
I never knew there was a second one.
It's not as good.
No.
Yeah, I honestly, I would be pretty keen. As long as there's new blood. If Todd Phillips came back to direct Hangover 4, I would not be interested.
Yeah,
you don't think you'd have more trust in him now?
No, I genuinely
After
don't.
his smash comedy hit Joker?
Like, I laughed at that movie a lot, not with it.
The stand-up routine that Joker does is actually just Todd Phillips testing out comedy.
I think so. I think and that's why he was so angry, because that's it. I'm going to kill the Joker's got to kill everybody now because they're all wrong. He's just a bit of it.
They didn't laugh at my jokes anymore. Gotta kill him.
Like, again, feelings on Joker aside, I honestly just don't think Todd Phillips is that funny of a guy. Like I said, Old School didn't really hit it for me. It was fine. The last two Hangovers, like, because he's head writer on Hangover 3, and it's the worst one. I'm like, okay, I don't think he's a great comedy writer. Like, he's a more talented director than writer, I think. So if they got it's like, I'm trying to think of other. Bad Boys got new blood, and it was really good for the franchise.
You get like Christopher Nolan to come in.
Sure. Bring Nolan in to do that. You know what? Quentin Tarantino's last movie will be Hangover 4. Like, just get somebody else to come in and do it. I honestly would prefer that. If Todd Phillips came back, I would be much less excited.
Should be Greta Gerwig. Get her in to direct a Boys Weekend movie.
She can do the female version. I'm cool with that.
Sure.
I'd watch that as well.
Okay.
That'd be weird.
Would be a bit weird. All right. Should we rate them? Should we rank them? It's a clear 1, 2, 3 for me.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Like, I'm constantly caught between, like, I just like that 3 doesn't do the exact same thing, but I hate the choices it's still
got
makes.
a worse movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, you're right. It's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. All right. That does it for the thing. It's such a shame that those movies leave such a poor taste in your mouth, right? Like, I think the first one is influential, and I don't have a huge amount of nostalgia for it, but I did enjoy it. But I was definitely over them by the end of it.
Yeah, very much so.
I forget that the dude from the Vegas wedding chapel shows up in the second one as a different character.
Yeah, he does. Hey, he's in the strip club in the next.
He's in the strip club.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad movies.
Bad movies. John Goodman should have just killed him.
Should have killed Doug. Doug's the thing.
That's been pretty funny.
Honestly, yeah. Just put Black Doug into that group, and you got it.
You just replace Doug with Black Doug, and I have to go with him there. Yeah, make it more meta.
That'd be so funny. The fourth one is just Black Doug as Doug, and they've just recast him, and they don't say anything. It's
exactly.
Like,
that
Doug,
would be great.
Doug, do you remember Vegas, man? Thailand?
Oh, I love it.
All right.
Yeah.
Our fans have been calling out to me. They've been saying, Andrew, it's been over 2 years since the last musical you did on this podcast, and I think it's a crime. So the next trilogy is going to be the Red Curtain trilogy. That's Baz Luhrmann's first 3 films: Strictly Ballroom, Romeo plus Juliet, and Moulin Rouge. Only one of those is a musical, to be fair, but a trio of movies that my wife is very, very excited about watching. Moulin Rouge is the only musical. And see, it explores 3 types of, it explores dance as an expression of love. It explores poetry as an expression of love, and it explores music as an expression of love. This is a really important trilogy, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil my takes, but I hate Baz Luhrmann.
Dude, I was literally about to say the same thing. I was about to say, I don't want to go into it negative. I dislike Baz Luhrmann.
I just watched the 3 freaking movies and we'll talk about it, all right? Jeez. I just went and saw Moulin Rouge live. I went and saw the theatre production of it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're a musical man. You know?
Musical man, what can I say? My wife loves these 3 movies.
You're more cultured than Luke and
That's
I.
right. I'm more something. All right. Thank you for joining us for the good, the bad, and the worst. Join us next time for the Red Curtain trilogy. This podcast was brought to you by the... Oh, Luke's got the paperback.
2 books.
Where's my paperback? I didn't know they were available yet. There's The Taste of Iron is the first one, and The God Grotesque is the second book. Check them out. They're written by C.V. Clarke. They're very, very good. You can get them on Amazon.
Yep,
Best place to go.
Yep.
You can combine them into one book.
Sure,
why not? Check us out on Spotify, and please leave us a review there. It helps us a heap, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
so long.
Blood Brothers.